Hello, Jamie Hancock here from All Israel News. We're here at the Israeli Knesset, where a roundtable discussion is going to be taking place. It was organized by MK Danny Danon from the Likud party. Danon is expected to present a list of 5 conditions from the Israeli coalition government for the day after to the international community. All Israel News will be covering that story for you. Today there is a special Knesset session that involves ambassadors from 29 different countries. The session is being hosted by MK's Danny Danon, who is a member of the Likud party, and Ram Ben Barak, who is a member of the Yesh Atid party. So we have a coalition representative and an opposition representative that have invited these ambassadors to come and discuss the day after the war. This topic of the day after has been an issue of some controversy both in Israel and in the international community, as the Israeli government has not yet released an official position on what it intends to do in Gaza the day after the war.
The first point is the demilitarization of Gaza. Basically the idea that there will be no weapons, no one will be allowed to go there with Kalashnikov, with guns. It will be a demilitarized area. The second point is the establishment of a security zone along the fence. Basically, we saw what happened on October 7th. We saw the demonstrations. We saw all the ideas that the Hamas planned ahead. So no one will be allowed to get closer to the fence in a parameter that will be decided by our security forces. The third point is the Rafah crossing. You know, you're very involved with many issues on that crossing. I believe that Israel must have a presence on the crossing from the Israeli side. We don't have the representative from Egypt with us, but we value the peace accord and we respect the peace accord. And we intend that on the Israeli side, there will be, on the Gazan side, there will be presence of Israelis that will monitor whatever comes in to the Gaza Strip. That's the only way to ensure the demilitarization of Gaza. The fourth point is the voluntary immigration. That's a topic that MK Ben Barak and myself brought to the attention of the public in an op-ed that we published on Wall Street Journal a few months ago. And the last point is the idea of the reconstruction of Gaza. So we realize that, you know, many of the countries here would like to take part in the reconstruction of Gaza, but we have to make sure that we are not building another terror entity. So we will have to build a mechanism that the fund and support will go to the right places, very similar to what happened after the Second World War in Japan and in Europe. A lot of funds came from the international community, but they made sure that it goes to the right place.
We've just come out of the opening discussions of the roundtable discussion of the international delegates and Israeli MKs, Danny Danon from the Likud party and Ben Barak from Yesh Atid. Danny Danon presented a 5-point plan of Israel's conditions for the day after, and the delegates from the international community are debating and discussing those right now. We're expected to receive a summary after the event is over. I had 2 takeaways that I noticed after the meeting with the ambassadors. The first was that Western nations, including Western European nations, all affirm support for a 2-state solution as a necessary condition for a peaceful solution to the day after in Gaza. However, the Eastern European nations and African and Asian nations did not make that stipulation as strongly, or not at all. The second takeaway was that several ambassadors spoke before any official condemnation of Hamas, the invasion and the taking of captives was voiced by an ambassador, and I found that very interesting. After the first ambassador did condemn Hamas's actions, then several others followed, giving their own condemnations. Among the nations which explicitly condemned captivity were nations which had dual national citizens in captivity, including Italy, Romania, and France.
So I think it's clear for us that it will be a demilitarized area without any radical forces that have the capability to harm Israel. And then the challenge will be to uproot the hate and incitement from the education system. That will be the challenge, and I think the international community must play a vital role in this part.
If the educational system will be closer to propaganda and far away from real history and from teaching humanity and human values, a real history, be it the Holocaust, be it ethnic cleansing, be it whatever it's important for genocide, we will go nowhere.
Right.
And this is my bottom line. And this was my bottom line in this discussion. And I have to tell you again, I was impressed by the candor of both gentlemen, Danny Danon, Ambassador Danon, and Mr. Ben Barak, MK Ben Barak.
I think Israelis and Vietnamese sharing the mentality and the thought that first of all we suffer. Secondly, we have to be patient to rebuild peace bit by bit. And finally, in order to really live in peace, we have to show our tolerance. So this is a common lesson for all of us, and we experience it. And now it's time for us to uphold the principles of peaceful coexistence and living side by side peacefully and looking forward to the future. And this is what we will be working closely with all the partners in pursuit of peace and happiness for our people.
So we're a couple days after the special Knesset session on the day after with the international ambassadors. And the topic of the day after in Gaza still remains a controversial one, both here in Israel and internationally. What I noticed in the special Knesset session was that when MK Danny Danon presented what he considered the official Likud position, one of the options was voluntary immigration of a small section of the Gaza population, but not the whole Palestinian population. He again affirmed that Israel intends to keep Gaza for the Palestinian population, which is an important issue, both here in Israel and internationally. The other reason it's a controversial issue is due to the timeline of the IDF finishing the war against Hamas in Gaza. Previously, the IDF had given signals that the war might end at the beginning of 2024. Now, just a couple days ago, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, has indicated that the war could last until 2025, which puts the whole discussion of the day after again into a little bit of uncertainty. But we'll be following the story here at All Israel News.